What's up, everybody? Welcome to Waypoint's Media Club, where today we're going to be doing a full spoiler cast of Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So if you have not seen the movie yet, click away now because we're going full spoilers. Joining me today is Austin J. Ernst.
That's me. Hello. I'm here to talk about Shang-Chi.
Bret Jamerson, a.k.a. Jim Tasty.
Cool.
LeighErin Jazz.
Hi.
And he's going to pass out at any second now. Last but not least, it's Chris LePack, a.k.a. RumblePack92.
I just got my first COVID shot and I want to die.
And joining us from the ether and running the show is Alec Bobko.
Hello.
You will hear him but not see him. He is a ghost.
Ooh.
Good God.
All right, guys. What is everyone's just initial thoughts of the movies? And when did you see it? Did you see it at a premiere? Did you just kind of see it in the middle of the day? Austin, if you want to start.
Sure. Yeah, I saw it last night, around 7 o'clock my time, Central Time. And I ended up having to run to my place of employment to get my phone charger. So it was a late night for me because I left my phone charger at work. But it was totally worth it. I think this movie, while not perfect, is one of the better origin stories we have in the MCU. I think it kind of goes balls to the wall on like homages to things, and I think they really successfully pull that off. I don't know if they pull it off in like a perfect balance of everything, but I think everything they attempt to make an homage to, they succeed. I think it's like a solid like movie that stands on its own 2 feet, and I enjoyed my time.
Gotcha, guys. What about you, Bret?
I really liked it. I saw it on Thursday at 6 Central. And yeah, it I didn't know how to gauge my expectations just because I didn't know anything about the character going in. But I thought Simu Liu was amazing. I really liked Awkwafina. I didn't really know how I was going to take her character. But
Awkwafina is such an underrated actress. She's so good.
I know.
Everybody.
I know.
Her and stuff.
I know
She
she's
can be a little hit or
talented.
miss
I know
for
she's
me.
talented, but like, I just the previews with her humor, like I was like, I don't know, but
I felt like
really
it didn't land in the
landed.
trailers, but in the movie it worked. Like
It did,
there's
yeah.
There's something about getting the full context of it. Yeah.
Yeah. What about Lou? What about you, LeighErin?
I saw this in the middle of the day in an empty theater and had a great fucking time with that. I was lounged out across like 8 chairs because I'm fucking alone at 12 in the afternoon on a Friday in this
Fantastic.
I loved it. Okay, here's the thing. Half of this cast, I would watch them in anything. Michelle Yeoh, who played the aunt, is phenomenal. Fucking, I love Awkwafina. She's great. Tony, I think it's pronounced Luang, who plays his father, but that I could be saying that wrong. He's awesome. Like,
I thought it was pronounced Long.
how?
Tony Leung.
Leong?
Like that.
Yeah.
I'm real bad at that, and I apologize.
He's great. There were a bunch of people from Crazy Rich Asians in this that like I'm just obsessed with. And I want more. I want that to be where they pull the casting from, because the rest of that cast is also phenomenal, and I just want them to be in the MCU. Yeah. I mean, Gemma Chan already is, but like, I want the rest of them.
Gemma Chan's been in the MCU twice, hasn't she?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Hasn't she played 2 separate characters?
I know she was the character in Captain Marvel, and she's now in Eternals.
Yeah, that's what it was. Just because she's all blue in Captain Marvel and not barely had a role, but was not a significant enough role that
she had 2 lines. You can say she barely had a role.
Okay, she barely had a role.
There you go.
But yeah, I love this movie. I think it's the first Marvel property in a long time that you could recommend to non-Marvel fans. Like, my dad loves kung fu movies and westerns. And I called him on the way home and was like, you should watch this movie. You'd really, really enjoy it. And like, he would. Even though he has no context for Trevor, it's like still funny.
Yeah, it stands on its own enough that they do enough, I feel, explaining of the events of Iron Man 3 that like you're like, okay, I got enough of this. Like I get enough of what's going on.
I also just have to throw this out here now. Minus the romantic undertones, I feel like Shang and Katie are just Jordan and I if we were a superhero duo. Like, Sure, I was watching this and was like, oh, this is just me and Jordan being obnoxious, and I love it. Like,
yeah. No, I felt that
minus
too.
like the romantic undertones, because like
I'll get back to that part
okay.
in a second. But Chris, what about you? What was your experience?
So my experience, I saw it day one Thursday. I saw it at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. I saw it in theaters. I went to. Oh, I guess they're not doing a Disney Plus release for this, are they?
In 45 days, well, I guess now it's like 43 since it's been 2 days, but
Right.
it's yeah.
I went and saw it at a theater close by, and I really wish I hadn't, because one, the crowd in there was really lame who didn't laugh at anything. So me and Brittany were just being really obnoxious, laughing at all the jokes. And then for the first like half hour, 45 minutes of the movie, like the bass and the audio just was not present. I had to leave and go tell someone. It was like, hey, the audio's fucked up in here. And then they went and fixed it. So that was lame. I got it was like after we got through the bus fight sequence, I was like, I've had enough of this. I'm gonna go tell somebody. And then they came and fixed it, which was a shame, because that bus fight sequence, whew, that bus fight alone is worth the ticket, the price of admission for this movie. But I'll go a step further and say that I think this is probably the strongest like solo MCU origin story since like Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
agree with
it's as far as like solo movies, it's one of the best, if not the best, in the entire series. It does a great job of standing on its own 2 feet, not relying on anything else within the MCU, while still also having plenty of things that connect it to the larger MCU as a whole. I think Simu Liu is like Shang-Chi is a really charismatic and likable character. And I loved it. I loved all the action sequences. I'm a huge fan of like martial arts movies and that sort of thing. Like I love like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Ip Man. Like all Tony Leung is in a bunch of like Chinese martial arts movies as well, that are, or Wenshu movies, I believe they're called, that are really really good. And I also think Wenwu kind of stole the show of this too. Like what an incredible character I was not expecting to enjoy as much as I did. The performances were all great. I'm with everybody else where it's at. I was surprised at how much I liked Aquafina as well. Like Katie's character was really really cool. I also just want to shout out again just the fight choreography just being probably the best in the entire MCU. Like that, I'm blown away at the quality of the fight sequences. And I think part of the reason for that and is that one of the lead fight choreographers actually used to work on Jackie Chan films. And I had to go and look this up, because there's that one point in like one of the bus fight where Shang takes his jacket and like wraps it around this dude's arm and then uses it against him. I was like, that's a Jackie Chan ass move. And then I went and looked it up. I was like, oh yeah, of course. Like so like this dude that worked on Jackie Chan films is also involved with this. That makes total sense. And so yeah, I'm in love with it. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I've seen it. I want to watch it again, like so badly. I'm just and I'm so excited to see more of Shang-Chi in like with the Avengers in the MCU. Like I think that's so cool.
Alec, what about you?
I like Chris, I saw it 6:30 on Thursday. I love this movie. Like it had Chris and I were texting back and forth that night because my friend had to leave the theater early, so I didn't have anybody to talk to after I saw the movie. And I'm just like, it was that perfect blend of an MCU movie, but it had like hit all those moments. It had a great origin, had the comedy, had the great action, but also in that package that you didn't have to be an MCU fan. You could just enjoy this movie. And honestly, I couldn't say it much better than Chris. I know he and I kind of talked about that, so kind of have the same thoughts. And I actually already put this on my MCU ranking list, and I have it at number 8.
Hi.
Nice. So I have somehow managed to see the movie twice already because I saw it Thursday night with a friend of mine, Victoria, me and LeighErin's mutual friend,
Who is now in love with.
Who is now in love with the MCU. Well,
no, I was gonna say with Shang-Chi.
That
and the
too.
actor who plays him.
And so we watched it, and I realized
it was hot, dude.
Yeah, she was like, I think I have a crush on him now. I was like,
and then I had another very close friend of mine who is Vietnamese that really that has seen a good chunk of the MCU movies, but not all of them, and is not like committed to them the way like we are. But obviously wanted to see this for representational reasons, so I went to the drive-in with her yesterday and watched it a second time. And she kind of was like, I explained Iron Man 3 to her before we got in, but like she's like, I'm understanding this enough. And she even said that she wants her dad to watch it. So like it does stand on its own really well. Because other than Wong, the references to Iron Man 3 and the throwaway line about how half the population can leave, like it's really not connected to the MCU outside of those three things. And you can understand what's going on. Yes, LeighErin.
Okay, first thing, as just my final on why this movie is great, I want a fucking Morris stuffed animal. I want a stuffed animal without a fucking face.
Target has them.
I know, I saw last night, they're like $10.
Yeah.
I want one so bad.
I literally leaned over to Brittany in the middle of those. I was like, Disney's gonna make a fortune off of those. Like they're gonna sell so many of the Morris plushes, dude.
And they're gonna get a copyright strike on the Ninetales.
I honestly wasn't sold on. Is it Maurice or Morris? I thought it was Morris.
Yeah.
I thought it was Maurice the entire movie, and kept saying Maurice.
You said Maurice in the chat, and I'm like, am I dumb? Like, is it Maurice?
No,
the way that Ben Kingsley speaks makes it sound like it could be Morris or Maurice, but all the merch is referring to him as Morris.
Yeah, all the merch says Morris.
I wasn't sold on Morris because apparently I'm a monster. I wasn't sold on Morris until Awkwafina said like chicken pig. And I'm like, okay, man. Like, you got me.
Not 100%, but Brittany loves him, so it's like I'm probably gonna end up owning one.
So while we're there, go ahead.
Sorry. I texted Jordan in the middle of the movie and when if Trevor and Morris are not alive and together at the end of this movie, I'm going to have a meltdown.
They were dead.
Yeah.
Oh my
that scene was
that
great.
scene.
Isn't that like the last time we see them too?
Yes.
No, when they're putting the lanterns out there together.
Oh, that's true too.
Sitting on Ben Kingsley's lap.
The friend I went with to see it in the drive-in, she has a corgi and said that she would get the corgi a pair of wings and then I will just be Trevor for Halloween.
Oh.
But so since we all mentioned a bit like Awkwafina's character, we could start there. Pretty inconsequential to the whole bigger MCU and plot stuff, so we could go small and get big. I liked her character. I did think there was a few moments where some of the lines fell flat, and I wish that they had developed her more. Not so much that I did not like her performance. I wish that she was a little bit more than just the comic relief. Yeah, Austin.
Yeah, I just want to go next so I don't forget. But I felt that kind of same with you. I felt like the lines didn't always work for me, but I think they made sense for her character. Like she had, I think 2 or 3 references to a vagina, and I was like, okay, that's a bit much. But I feel like that's totally on character for her. Like I feel like she as a person would out that kind of stuff, and it just made sense to me.
I was also thinking at work today. I was like, this is the first MCU movie to use the word vagina, isn't it?
I think
so. Language in this movie.
I was about to say she also drops a whole lot of holy shits. Like,
which again is kind of why I was like, okay, it is a bit much. Like the line itself, if like I didn't see it on screen, I was like, that's probably too many of that kind of joke. But seeing it on screen, I was like, okay, I can give it a pass because it fits with her character. Yeah. Secondly, the humor, while it was there, I never laughed out loud for her. I laughed out loud more for Ben Kingsley's character than I did her. But I do want to commend the chemistry between her and Shang-Chi. I think that was off the charts. I think their chemistry was absolutely perfect. Together. I think it was, because there are romantic undertones, don't get me wrong, but I think it was a very, very brave choice to not make them romantic in the movie.
And honestly, I hope they don't. Like,
like
in the future, like I want them to stay best friends. I like that vibe that they have. Although I did, like speaking of, it's like I think the one like Awkwafina joke that I really laughed out loud was when he was in the ring and he comes out shirtless and she's like,
yeah,
I'm like, oh, okay, I was fucking dying at that.
So, me and the Victoria couldn't tell if they were supposed to be together at the end or not, because okay, they show their heads resting on each other, which is whatever. And then at the end, he goes like this, but he could have been doing that sarcastically, so you never actually see them do anything specifically romantic.
I'm with you. I don't know if that
I also would have preferred if they didn't. I also loved the grandma going, "When are you getting married?" Because that is a very immigrant grandma thing to do.
Oh yeah, that was the moment that I was like, "Oh, this is Jordan and me as people." It's just like
everyone's like, "So when are we getting married?" We're like, "We're not."
No, like I have a family friend who asks all the time, "When are you marrying Jordan?" I don't know. I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
I'm not telling you.
See, and then the scene with the shirt came up, and I whispered to Victoria, I was like, okay, they have not been best friends for 10 years if she's never seen him shirtless.
We've been best friends for almost 10 years, and I don't remember the last time I saw you shirtless.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just never went swimming together.
I'm not saying it happens often. I'm just saying, like, at some point.
I don't think I've ever... I'm about to say something fucked up, but I usually ask Jordan to keep his shirt on around me because I am very freaked out by body hair.
Yeah.
And so I usually ask him to put on a shirt.
You get what I'm saying.
Yes.
My chest hair, what I have of chest hair is shaped like an eagle, and it's fucking cool. I will show you guys sometime.
Prove it.
I'm not gonna do it on the pod. I will do it off air though.
But still, like, here, how about this? Hypothetically, if I took off my shirt, you know what level of muscle or non-muscle to expect. So that part I just felt was like, I guess they just want to add this in.
Generally speaking, yeah. I think I know, like, what I would expect. I like, though, I guess this falls onto their chemistry.
It's hard to see abs under shirts, though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that they wrote them... They're supposed to be young. Like, in theory,
I think they're like 25-ish.
Yeah.
They're... Because, he's like...
Give or take a year or two.
They're like mid to late 20s, like, for sure.
He was born sometime around 1996, so he's close to you and I in age, Jordan.
Yes. And he said that he was in high school around 10 years ago, and somebody called him Gangnam Style, which came out in 2012. So, like, and we were in high school around 10 years ago. Like, it all adds up.
Yeah.
They spoke the way you and I speak to each other. Like that line on the bus where she's like, that's the kind of daughter that my mom wanted to come out of her vagina is absolutely something I would say to friends.
Yep.
Or like the way she mimes what happened to your shirt? Like, is how like I would talk to my friends.
Few lines that sounded weird. Like she almost sung. She was like, it was almost like sing song. She's like, what happened to your shirt? And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this delivery 100%.
Yeah, but like you get
what she's doing. I also loved the back and forth between her and her brother, where he was like, I'm proud of you. Thanks.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. I think the writers did a really good job of writing them. It didn't sound like fucking Iron Man or Captain America where they're like waxing poetic. It sounded like a fucking 26-year-old talking to
another 26-year-old.
And I like that because with MCU movies a lot, their characters don't speak like humans. Like
they also,
and I think that's why I think that's why it makes characters like Shang-Chi or even like the MCU's version of Peter Parker I think so good is because they speak like teenagers or 20-somethings do today. You know what I mean? Like it's they've been good about it. Whereas it's like I don't know anybody that sounds like Steve Rogers.
Yeah, and like the other. Sorry,
I was gonna say. This is going to sound weird, but I also really liked the delivery of the way their lines came out when they were drunk in the alley. Because the MCU has not shown many drunk people, but every time they have, they're like belligerently falling on top of themselves. Stan Lee cannot stand up on his own drunk. They were just buzzing up that they're like...
Asgardian ale, bro.
She was like, why are we running away from adulthood? Okay? Like, valeting is hard. I'm like, okay, like, this is very realistic. And also just the look of like karaoke.
So good, unless.
So great.
I've done it with my friends so many times. Like, well, I guess we should go home now, and then we're like,
Everybody knows that look.
Absolutely.
Like,
also, fantastic payoff in the post credits too.
Oh God, I know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there were so many little things that like all of the characters felt so fleshed out and so established, which I like because a lot of the time we don't get that in origin stories. We don't get like even sorry, I'll be quick with this last sentence. It's when the aunt whose name I cannot think of, Michelle Yeoh's character. It's like your mother knew who she was. Do you? Like the kids, Shang and Katie and the sister, they don't know who they are, but like that's the point. And the adults are all very sure of themselves, and I like it. I like that we had like people who are like, nope, this is what I'm doing, and like fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, on both sides.
And it made sense a lot for the younger characters because not only are they at an age where you are trying to find your exact place in the world, it's like, okay, like I chose my major, I started maybe getting a job in the real world, but where exactly do I fit in? And on top of that, with Shang and his sister, you also make sense the fact that like they did not have a normal growing up. So they're also going to be a little bit more lost than maybe the average 25, 26-year-old. But awesome. What were you going to say?
I may be grasping at straws here because LeighErin brought up she liked all the characters. I'm sure she was referring to like the main cast, but Razor Fist was a piece of shit in this movie. He was a turd. I don't know why he was in this movie.
Should not have appeared past the bus.
I don't understand. Like, it was
thought
really bad.
So
no, it was terrible.
His delivery wasn't good, and then like, why was he there? What did he do?
So
I don't understand.
I just thought he was like the right-hand man to the dad.
Why was the masked dude like so heavily marketed and he was barely in the movie?
Killed off like a bitch. Literally killed off like a bitch.
That soul sucks.
He got
answer for that. Toys. He looks very cool, so Disney went, if we market him, toys.
But
his design is also an homage to an old Wenshu film that I can't remember the name of.
Yeah, but
Honestly, the Marvel version of Katana from DC.
But you could have combined him and Razor Fist into one kind of like serving purpose and still had him die, not so much like a little bitch.
So what's so funny is that you say it's like, well, Razor Fist is supposed to be like when it was like right hand man. I was like, was that not the masked dude that trained Shang Chi his whole life?
That's what I
think they serve different purposes, and I also think the masked dude part of his
neither of them serve a purpose though. They don't do anything.
No, they literally don't do shit.
Not speaking added a lot to his character in a way.
I think it was cheap.
I wish we never heard Razor Fist speak. When we did, it was just like, why are you talking?
You're right. He looks and sounds like he doesn't know how to read.
And this is being harsh to that man. I'm sure that man just did what he had with the script, but whatever. I have no idea what you said.
There must be some sort of...
He just looks and sounds like he doesn't know how to read. And I think that's weirdly
also, I like how you said that line right after I was saying like I don't want to be too mean to this man.
There must have been a settlement.
Knows how to read. I'm saying his inflection in the lines made him sound like a himbo.
There must have been a settlement in the Ten Rings where he kept his job after losing his arm in some sort of engagement with whatever.
Him replacing the blade with the dragon scale blade was cool.
That was cool, yeah.
Yes. Really quick, I know that I'm a hoe for this director's work. I am. I love every movie this director has ever made. Short Term 12 is one of the most underrated films in existence. Nobody has ever seen it, and it's phenomenal. Glass Castle is great. Just Mercy is was not my cup of tea, but was good, well done. Like, he's such a
Michael
good
B. Jordan?
Yes, it's Michael B. Jordan, Brie Larson, and Jamie Foxx. Yeah,
I need to watch this movie. Wow.
So Killmonger, Electro, and Captain Marvel.
Yes, he's worked with Brie Larson was in Short Term 12, Just Mercy, and Glass Castle. I also highly recommend Glass Castle because it's Brie Larson, Naomi Scott, and Woody Harrelson, who's great. Anyways, this movie was visually stunning.
Yeah,
well,
it was beautiful.
I think the creatures in this movie are stunning. I think the dragon was stunning. I think all the creatures were stunning. There were a few CG. This isn't my thing. I don't really care. That doesn't take me on the experience all that much. But there were a few outside shots.
Yeah,
and
when he's laying on the grass facing the ocean or whatever, that was as bad as the Thor Ragnarok scene.
Yeah, I don't know why they can't seem to get those shots right, man. They always look so fake.
Because Alec, I saw you mentioned this on Twitter. I don't remember this shot.
It's that shot when he's laying on the grass, and then you can see the water over the cliff.
When the very beginning
of the movie, yeah.
After the Jeep falls off the cliff. Are you talking about that?
I think so. Yes.
Okay, I didn't pick up on that being bad, but I don't always have an eye for that.
It reminded me of the Thor Ragnarok scene when they're looking out over.
No, to be fair, most of it looked really, really good. I think the only other time where I was like, the CG's a little rough was that first time when the water comes out of the wall and they use that to find the maze through the forest. That time I was like, But as I thought the rest of it looked really, really good. I was happy too that like the final fight wasn't. It was still very. It was darker in composition, but it still had like some vibrant colors in there and stuff. It didn't feel like washed out and brown, and like I liked that a lot about it. Either one of you, I don't know.
Call me. I'll go. I also felt like the first time we see the parents fight, like the lighting was a little bit weird for me. I don't know.
I loved that. See, I thought all that was great.
Hold on. But usually what's this type of movie called? They're referencing Chris. You said it's like
the Wenshu.
Wenshu, thank you.
Yeah.
Those are almost always extremely bright, whereas here it was bright, but not like as a perfect homage to that. I don't know. I feel like now, in retrospect, I feel like they're very bright for a reason.
Can we talk about how great that opening scene is, though?
Yeah, like
wow.
What do you mean?
Also, quick question, Chris: is would you call them Wing-Chun movies?
Yeah.
Is that just a more appropriate way for kung fu movies? Like, is that not a term that's accurate anymore?
No, it's when you see like really floaty, romantic kind of.
Wenshu is specifically it's considered a Chinese heroic a Chinese hero martial arts movie. Like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They're like epics. They have to do with the hero getting back to the woman he loves and all the trials he has to face to get home. It's a very specific type.
Understood. Yeah. But that opening fight.
I don't think like kung fu movie is a bad term or anything.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what the term meant, but that opening fight almost becoming a dance. Well, it basically did become a dance. Was shot great.
Oh, cool.
Loved the idea behind it.
I didn't love. Go ahead, I think LeighErin's going to share my sentiment. I'm curious.
At one point, it was definitely dancers, which was a good choice, but also you get into moments sometimes where you can tell that it's a double because somebody is turned away from the camera for a little too long, and that's how you can very much tell that they were dancers and people.
Tony looks an old guy.
He doesn't move that fluidly anymore,
no.
And they were beautifully done. It just was a little jarring to go from dancers who have been dancing together for a long time to the actual actors who haven't been dancing together for a long time.
And I can also understand some of those shots like looking kind of weird in those sorts of things. Like they do like these really cool like parallax things when people like come right in front of it and there's the shot of her like jumping up and everything, and so that's not something you see a lot in or really ever in the MCU, but that is like very characteristic of those kinds of like martial arts movies and that sort of thing. It's very clearly an homage to that sort of genre, but I can see that also kind of turning off a lot of people.
Yeah, it was just like it was a very clear jump, and I was like, I can see why you did it this way because you need to, but rehearse more. Eventually people become comfortable dancing with the other. Just rehearse it a bunch.
I also feel like the romantic undertones, which are usually there in the experience that I've seen of these, like the actual movies that they're playing homage to here, they kind of had to focus on that a little bit more for this film. They kind of had to bring those moments out a little more and make it a little more obvious for these characters. But I think that hurt it later on when Simu Liu's character had to like do the same thing with his aunt, and I'm like, this is fucking weird now. Like, I don't know why this is here.
Those weren't shot the same way.
I agree.
Them dancing around each other and never went to slow motion. Those were her guiding his hands, and he gives her a smirk of like, "Am I doing it right?" And I honestly liked that one just as much.
It was just like the implication of what the first fight was, and then the second. For me, it felt weird until they started doing it. Don't get me wrong; the actual product was fine. I just felt leading into it, I was like, "What?"
See, I feel like if anything, when they repeat the shot of the way the mom kind of like was crouching around and looking at the dad, they repeated that with his dad and him. If anything, that's more of a parallel because that was the same exact movement and shot.
Sure.
Also very much enjoyed that all of the animals were inspired by actual animals from Chinese mythology. That is such an easy place to cut corners, and I thought they did a very good job. I was looking at a bunch of traditional art of the five-tailed foxes because I want one. The little pup chasing his three little tails was the cutest thing I have ever seen.
Yes. Oh, the Vulpix.
Foxes. You had the foxes. You had the big like lion things, which you see in a ton of like statues and architecture, and this is the horse.
The dragon horse thing creeped me out to an extent.
Oh, I loved him.
The dragon face horse. I thought it looked too human-like, honestly. And then when Ben Kingsley's character is like, "Why is he looking at me?" Like I lost it. That's when I laughed out loud.
All I could think of in that scene was, do you think Trevor thinks he's having a flashback? Do you think he thinks he's on acid all of a sudden? Because I would.
Trevor being like, "Wait, you guys see him?" and like that being a moment of relief, like that got me.
So let's just, how good was Trevor Slattery in this movie? Like,
amazing.
So good. So good.
Yeah, so unexpected.
Just
to be that much of a
everything
part of this
about it.
movie too.
I like it because he didn't have to be there at all. He didn't have to be included in this movie at all. But
because they addressed that bit of it with like the Mandarin and the Tin Rings like much earlier. Like they didn't have to also have Trevor in it, but that was really fun. And then keep him around for the rest of the movie. I was not ready for as well.
That's the other thing. I thought he was going to be in and out of there when I saw him.
I did think he was going to die, but I've been saying to Jordan for months that Ben Kingsley was going to be in this movie because, of course, they have to wrap it up because that one shot is so fucking open-ended. And I've never seen that fucking one shot. I don't give a shit. I've never watched any of the one shots.
It's good.
That one shot's very good.
And
so you're going to watch that one and all the Thor one-shots. They're all great.
I know there are other people that haven't watched the one-shots. So if you have a character in your film, say, I had to take care of this because they were appropriating my thing
name
or whatever the father says. You have to then establish what you did. And especially because they explained what happened to the bad guy in Iron Man 3, whose name I never remember.
Aldrich Killian.
Thank you. They explain what happens to him without mentioning his name. They are like, Iron Man took him out.
Well, yeah, we see that in the movie too. He dies.
Yeah, but we don't talk. They don't say anything about Trevor, and you need to establish that like this is either a closed off storyline or is going to serve a purpose.
Also, going back to Iron Man 3, did anybody notice the fighter that had Extremis?
That's what I was about to say.
Yes.
When we were entering the fighting ring.
Yeah, fighting Widow.
I was about to say, yeah. So not only was that an extremist, it's somebody who's actually listed as one of the Black Widows from the Red Room in the Black Widow film.
Yeah. Also, while we're on that scene, shout out to Ronnie Cheng, stand-up comic from The Daily Show. Great. Also, I learned something.
One of my ABCs. He was awesome. I loved him.
No. So apparently, when he goes, "Oh, I speak ABC," I laughed. I was like, "Oh, that's just how he refers to English." No, and my Vietnamese friend taught me this. It means American-born Chinese. I did not know that.
So cool.
It's a double entendre like that.
It's funny. It's funny because I'm uneducated and didn't know that. When he said I speak ABCs, I laughed. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a gag.
That's how he refers to the English language. ABC. No, American-born Chinese.
It works on both levels. I love that.
Sure.
So clever.
But this scene with Abomination and Wong didn't work for me because I think the trailer ruined it. I think they should have CG'd Abomination out of it. I think they should have had just Wong facing like a blurred image or something, and then reveal Abomination. I think that was
it went nowhere.
Better kick.
Because it went nowhere. If it went somewhere, I would have been okay with it in the trailer.
100%. I agree with you.
What was that lab? He portaled to?
Nothing. Oh, in my mind, it went to, what's it called? The Raft? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, something like that.
No, it just kind of looked like a honestly,
it looked like a cage.
It looked
like a glass cage.
Lot.
It's literally just in and out, and they don't explain what the fuck Abomination is doing there. Why Wong is with him at all.
Why
he
is
looks different
in cage matches? Yes, LeighErin.
Okay, I don't know how he looks different because that movie is terrible, and I refuse to subject my. Oh, I thought that was new. I was about to ask.
To be fair, he looks a lot better now. Just I want to get that record.
Way better.
Super does. Yeah.
But really quick, because I said this during I agree with Austin. It should not have been in the trailer. I don't think any of it should have been in the trailer. It should have been a different fighting group. Any different fighting group should have been CGI'd into that ring. It was stupid to reveal that in the trailer, but that's what Marvel does. They ruin their movies in their own trailers.
I think including Wong would have been okay because like Wong, you already assumed, and then you showed.
I had the same issue with the dragon.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'll bring that up later, but yes, I agree.
But hang on. Also, I had to point this out to Jordan. Wong is training Abomination. He says it. He's training him for something. We didn't get an answer, but I assumed wherever they went is wherever he's keeping Abomination, and then we'll get an answer to that eventually.
Interesting.
Listen, I get Abomination's a bad person. I don't like the idea that Wong is just keeping him somewhere on a leash.
I do. I think it's fine.
I feel like that gives a very, very dark past to Wong.
Did you notice he called him Emil? He said Emil, which is his character's name from the actual Hulk movie. No. Yeah, he actually called him Emil.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't call him like Abomination or anything else.
He says Emil.
Yeah. Emil Roth, right?
Blonsky. Tim Roth.
Eli Roth is the name of the actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because like you said that, you said that, and it's like something about that is right, but definitely not in this context. Like I know
you were
correct,
right, but also you weren't right.
You know what I mean? Like you're like that's wrong, but like why is my brain telling me that's right? Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But yes, Marvel ruins its own movies and its trailers. Is my
usually with their trailers,
I feel the same way.
Usually with their trailers are fantastic. Like they misdirect and stuff. This one they really didn't.
That was just for like Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Did the trickery.
Yeah.
I feel like the past few years they've been bad. I still stand by they should not have revealed that Spider-Man was going to be in Civil War. Imagine how fucking exciting that would have been to just see Spider-Man flip.
They had to flex that though.
We knew that he was going
to. You're not announcing that it's like, hey, we got Spider-Man in the MCU without advertising that.
Yeah, one, we already knew he was going to be in it. Two, apparently around the time that trailer came out, there was a fake leak about what Spider-Man's costume was going to look like based off of fan art, and people went out of hand and were like, Marvel's going to ruin it. And I think what it was a misinterpretation of what his homemade costume looked like in that scene that Tony shows him. So they're like, let's show them that he has a great costume with the first ever movable lenses.
I disagree 99% of the time with the way Marvel does there. The only one in the past, 5 years, I think they have done well is the Eternals trailer.
Oh, Eternals trailer's so good, though.
It's so good. It's phenomenal. And I have no fucking idea what that movie's going to be about.
No idea.
And that's awesome. Awesome.
I love the IKEA line at the end. That gets me every time I see the trailer.
So, I'm sorry, Jordan, go ahead.
I was just going to say, going back to the Wong and Abomination thing, had they been in the movie for, let's just say a consistent 5 minutes, and those 5 minutes were kind of for lack of a better word, a backdoor pilot to why Abomination might be appearing in She-Hulk again, or what Wong's up to, I would have been like, it's okay that they showed that in the trailer. The fact that it was I'm not even going to say glorified, just basically a cameo on Abomination's end, they shouldn't have ruined it.
Yeah,
100%. Show Wong, don't show Abomination.
The thing is, they didn't even have. They could have just been like, it's a generic sorcerer.
It's also so interesting that we're getting so much of Wong because we see Wong going somewhere in Spider-Man, presumably to this fighting ring, but then also he's in the post credits too with Wong and Captain Marvel, and also a human Bruce Banner.
Thank God. Thank fucking God. Can I just say it? Because I swear to God, if I have to see him as Dr. Hulk one more time, I'm going to claw my own eyes out. It is Professor Hulk, whatever the fuck he is, I will claw my own eyes out. It is the ugliest CGI I have ever seen.
So that was awesome.
I hate it. I viscerally hate
the worst CG. The worst CG that has to do with Banner is when they put his little head
in the
Hulkbuster.
Last minute that they didn't want Hulk in Infinity War. Yeah.
Fuck Professor Hulk though.
That's 100% a reaction to people like LeighErin who complain so much about Professor Hulk.
It's horrible.
Here's the other thing. The fact that his arm is in a sling is the only it's the only confirmation that this takes place post Endgame.
No, there's all these signs and stuff on Shang Chi.
Post snap
anxiety.
There's a
reference to them all disappearing.
But see, that reference could have been they never mentioned them coming back, so that line could have been.
It's blip.
The half aren't back yet. You're right. Blip posters.
The blip is the second snap. Yeah.
I don't think anything besides we had Black Widow. I don't think anything else we're getting except maybe the Fantastic Four is going to take place before Endgame.
I'm not saying I believe everything. I believe everything.
Everything's happening.
Widow is after Endgame.
It's after they're back. Everything's fine, and I think Marvel's expecting that we all just assume that.
Yeah.
Therapy bills in the MCU must be so high because for a multitude of reasons. The blip.
Gotta be a good time to be a psychologist, man.
The people. All I could think of that fight on the building as they're whipping these 10 ring soldiers off the ground. I was off the roof or the scaffolding. was these poor people that are driving underneath this are either going to have a dead body land on their car or a dead body land in front of them and then probably run it over because they can't stop
Shang-Chi
in time.
kills
And that's
so many people.
Like, so does his sister.
When he was ready to interrogate
murder.
the guy, and she just dropped her like, "Oh, did America make you soft?" Like, no,
And
I had a
love
goal.
it. Mark them. Kill them all. Don't fucking let them live. Take care of
But
your
he wasn't going to let him live.
villains.
He was just going to interrogate him.
It doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? You know your father's coming after you. You don't need the motivation. Anyways.
That's how you get stuck in a loop where you're just killing. Yes, Austin.
I want to say that this scene was completely ruined for me. I don't know if it was my cinema. I don't know if it was the theater, but the scene, I couldn't see shit. It was way too dark. I just saw blurry things happening until
it looked fine for me.
The second half of it got brighter.
In fact, I don't think anything in the film was hard for me to see anything.
And I'm usually, that might have been a theater thing because I'm usually an asshole about not being able to see things, and they were relatively well lit.
Yeah, I was able to see everything fine in the theater. The drive-in's a whole different experience. I'm not even going to refer to that.
The second half of this fight scene got brighter. I still think it was hard to see, but like when it first started, I literally could not see anything. I had no idea what was happening. I just heard fighting movements.
All the stuff on the scaffold thing was very cool.
It was, and I also really liked the ending part that I think Austin's referring to, where they're fighting in front of the neon sign that has like these very cute dogs. These like
kawaii dog.
Yeah, looking like the Secret Life of Pets.
Yeah.
I did like
just did like silhouetted against that as they're going out.
That was really cool.
So fucking cool.
It was a cool shot. I did like that when he fights. What's the masked character? LeighErin something.
The death dealer.
Death dealer. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, was he gonna kill this man? Was he gonna kill him until his dad stopped him? Was he?
I hope so. I hope so.
He killed like a bunch of other people. What's to stop him from doing that?
Be a fucking man.
Because they made
your villains.
Because they made the scene important where he paused. Also, that like actual choreographed thing where he catches the knife. I remember seeing something on Twitter about like that took like, I'm not exaggerating, like 200 takes for him to get that because he did it practically. Like that's
I can believe
amazing.
it. Yeah.
So I actually have like a little something. I know we can't show it like in the recording, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But I just seen on Reddit like something pop up of I cannot remember the actress that plays Xialing, Shang-Chi's sister.
I don't remember her name either.
But them like practicing the choreography for their fight in the ring, and it's like it's the two of them learning it, and kind of like watching like behind the scenes stuff for like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin's duel in Episode 3. I had that same moment of like, oh, they actually learned that. I thought they was stunt doubles. I was like, cool, that's awesome. I love to see that. It's really neat because it's really, really involved choreography. Like that shit was intense.
What did we all think of the sister as a character?
Very cool
in the story.
Awesome.
Surprisingly good. Like I also like how they kind of didn't give away that there was a sister.
I had no idea
she just appeared behind him in that one scene, and I was like, they played that really well. I like that a lot.
That was smart.
Is so cool. They give her a cool weapon that is what everything that Quentin Tarantino wanted Kill Bill to be, and everything that it is not. She's hot as fuck. I want to be her. Like she's such a good. I was really impressed with that character.
Yeah. That end credit scene. That end credit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude.
They established what she was in the beginning, and they did not falter with it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I want to say real quick,
like her brother more, but her morals really don't change.
No,
yeah.
No. I knew I liked her right away when she like didn't help Shang-Chi right away, and then she comes in and saves Aquafina or whatever, and he's like, well, like, I thought you abandoned me, and he's like, no, and she's like, now you know how it feels. Like, I was like, yep, I like her. Like, I kind of didn't like it, but I respected the move of just being like, nah, fuck you for a bit.
So when the post-credit scene was starting, not the mid-credit scene, and she was just sitting there, and they're like, she's ready. Did anybody else, because I know I did, and the person sitting next to me both thought the same thing, that Fontaine was going to come and recruit her? Because they've been setting that up.
No, I don't think.
I didn't think
just
that.
thought so in that second, and then I was like, oh nope, no. Now she is taking over the 10 Rings.
I actually initially, sorry, I'll shut up to this because I talk a lot. I actually initially thought that the women that were there were widows, but I there's no way to prove that. And I doubt it is true. But that's the first thing that came to my head when I saw all of it.
It's possible.
That's what I thought too. was that they were widows at first, but I truly think that I was saying this during last night. I think the homing beacon in the ring in that mid-credit scene has something to do with the Eternals. I think it has something to do with Shang-Chi coming into possession, that color shift, and I think it's got something to do with space and like whatever the fuck's going on up there. I really think with Marvel for now, we're getting split into the mythic weird shit, Doctor Strange, WandaVision, Loki, Spider-Man, Shang-Chi, all that
Eternals.
stuff. Eternals, all that.
The multiverse collapsing.
Guardians of the
basically.
Galaxy, like all that sort of thing.
I'm all for it.
And then Hawkeye, Captain America, She-Hulk,
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
That's what I meant by Captain. I meant Captain America 4, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Captain America 4, fucking Fontaine showing up in Falcon and Winter Soldier and Black Widow. I think that has to do with something else. And then we have the multiverse. And at some point, they have to come together. But for now, I think we're having two different storylines.
Yeah.
I think the thing about Shang-Chi, about this whole movie, is what makes me the most excited, is I just want to see him fight alongside other people. Like, I just want to see them running into a battle and how it meshes with other fighting styles. Like, I love those scenes at the beginning of Avengers movies when, like the winter scene, when they have that slow-mo shot of the side shot and then they all fucking gas. Like, imagine that with Shang-Chi and the new cap, and it's so cool.
It's also cool how strong they made Shang-Chi, like, immediately. Like at the end of this film, I mean, he's got the rings. They grant him immortality, for God's sake. I mean, it's like he's now, like, after his first movie, like, already, like, in the upper echelon of like Avengers, like, power level wise. Like, I think that's gonna be really cool to see.
In the comics, he was like the most prolific hand-to-hand fighter, or top 2 or 3, right? Depending if you like
take that Iron Fist.
I was about to say it was usually either him or Iron Fist. But
okay, I will say
Captain America. You
I don't know who here has watched. I don't know who here has watched Iron Fist.
Never.
I thought this movie was going to remind me of Iron Fist for one reason.
No.
The only thing about it that reminded me of Iron Fist was the siblings and the dad kind of dynamic, and then it just say the 10 Rings as a business. That was the only part that I felt. You don't have to. It's true. They don't like each other, but they also don't like the dad who lies to them, and there's a business involved.
That's like every fucking whatever, every relationship with a dad ever. But I do want to say that Iron Fist in the comics is super dope. Just the Netflix adaptation that I watched was very bad. It was
I got
so
3
boring.
episodes into the Netflix.
I shouldn't lean on Iron Fist and roast it as much as I do, because in the comics he is a very good character. I just fucking hate the Netflix series. It's so bad.
The second season is better because it's less about Danny. That's a bad reason to make it good.
I mean, part of the reason I hate the show so much, though, is because they butchered, like, one of my favorite comic characters. Like, I love Iron Fist. Like, he's so rad, but no.
I have a fun fact about the woman who played the sister. She learned rope dart. She learned how to use a rope dart. I didn't know there were people alive that could still use rope darts for real.
I will never be that cool. Like, I can aspire to be that cool.
Over here. Yeah, that's like easily one of the sickest weapons I've seen in a movie in who knows how long.
If you were my dad, you would say the 3-layered staff is the coolest weapon ever, and that nothing can compare to that. So that's to you, Dad. You'll never watch this, but you're welcome.
3-layered staff?
You know what that is? It's like the 3 batons where, like, one's in the middle and they're connected by 2 chains, and then
nunchucks.
You basically no. It's essentially it's essentially a 3-layered nunchuck, but the rods are all really longer, and you use it as like 2, and then you use the middle one to, like, block.
Bruce Lee uses them a lot in his movies, in addition to the nunchucks.
Okay.
If you saw it, you'd know.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up real quick.
For sure. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what do you guys think about like the fact that they spoke Chinese like significantly amount in the movie?
It's like the first like
that. I love that. I was like it just felt so authentic to
it's huge
and the story.
It was really good, and then also so that line where the dad looked at the older gentleman in the village and called him young man because he's. Apparently, and the Chinese speakers were actually saying the translation makes sense in terms of like what message is coming across, but the literal translation is not "I've lived 10 more lifetimes than you." It's "I've tasted more salt than you have had meals," or like something a lot more prolific like that.
More salt than you've eaten rice.
Yeah.
Is the phrase.
I'm for that. Heck yeah.
Which I've also read like through Reddit threads and stuff that a bunch of people are like, that's such a fucking Chinese boomer thing to say. To where like I saw this one person talking about how they saw it in Singapore that, you know, had a bunch of their families in there, and like all of like the old dads in there were like busting their ass laughing at that line because it's like it's something that they all say. Like it's just so funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this again. I bring this up all the time, but this is why when you let people tell their own stories, it works really well. The writer and director behind this movie were Asian American men, and we got a really good product. When the writers for Falcon and Winter Soldier was an African American man, we got a really good product. Like, let people tell their own stories. It works out so much better.
A lot of talk on Twitter and Reddit and stuff about how like accurately that they sort of like create the Asian American child experience. Like it's like, yeah, it's like my parents like act and talk like this way and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's like, yeah, and it's just fun to kind of see other people get to like kind of have that same sort of thing that I do, and I get to see like Peter Parker or whatever, you know. Like I think it's just such a win for representation, and I love it and I want more of it.
Yeah. And I'm so excited for Miss Marvel for the same reason, because that entire creative team is
heck yeah.
They're not all Pakistani, but they're all from the Middle East. And it's just
South Asia.
People tell, and now the Marvels is actually going to be written by a woman, and I feel like it's going to be so much better because it's not two men and a woman; it's a woman writing it and directed by a woman. Like, just not everything has to be by white men.
A younger me wouldn't understand this. Like, I'd get it, but I wouldn't like feel the impact. Like, I love when these stories are told correctly. I love like taking it in this way, in this tiny little nerdy world
I feel like I get to experience something that I wouldn't have otherwise.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? It's a cool, it's a learning thing for me, and I like learning new things, and so being able to see all these people like being so receptive to all these things being represented accurately, I feel like I've learned a whole lot just about like about Asian Americans in general, and it's such a cool and fun thing. I was on a similar note. I also wanted to ask you, what did you guys think of the soundtrack? Because I have something really cool to talk about.
Oh, dude, I love the hip hop in it, man. I haven't listened to the soundtrack yet, but I want to listen to it.
So definitely go listen to the soundtrack. They actually, if you go look it up on Spotify, they have what do they call it? They call it you can look up Shang Chi the Enhanced album, and there's a couple of videos like throughout. It's a playlist where they kind of talk about it as well. So the entire soundtrack, similarly to how Kendrick Lamar did the Black Panther soundtrack, a collective called 88 Rising did the Shang Chi soundtrack, who are they call themselves like a hybrid like management record label video production, but it's this record label that has like the Higher Brothers, Joji, Rich Brian, like all of these like Asian American artists. That's the thing, and so they all got together and did the entire soundtrack together, and it's really cool because of it.
I really like the trailer song. I remember really liking the trailer.
Yes, that one is. I can't remember the name of it. Let me go pull it up. I know it's Rich Brian and Rick Ross.
I really like the moments. I really like the moments where the very traditional Chinese music sound got mixed with modern hip hop or rap beats, and they kind of crossed over. I really like those because it is a cool way to like kind of explain how the movie is both modern but taking from these very much older movies and from a legend that goes back so long.
I think the opening segment does a great job of showing that, to where you have Shang-Chi's mother like explaining like the story of her and his father together, and then it transitions to him in his apartment. He starts working out, and the hip hop starts playing over the top of that. But it was all one continuous track. The music didn't stop between those 2 points, which was really cool.
Really quick, we've kind of glossed over the bus scene, and I think it deserves better.
Oh yeah,
that bus scene was. I will say, I don't like the cameos of the fucking guy filming.
I loved it because it's the guy from Spider-Man.
I don't give a fuck that he was in Spider-Man. What human being sits there like this as their like lives are being legitimately being? You had like a 40% chance of coming out alive.
You ever seen the videos that people have filmed of like fights? Like it felt exactly like that.
Maybe
You know what I mean?
I'm
I was waiting for somebody to yell out "New Star!" Like I mean, I was.
That's the thing. In the beginning, for the most part, you're like, oh, this is just like a fist fight. Then then Razor Fist comes out, and you're like, oh no. But I'm not gonna stop recording.
I also love his line of his like, I took martial arts as a kid, so I can pretty much just commentate as this happened. Like,
I'm gonna score.
Funny,
I'm gonna score this fight.
Unless I get in trouble.
It's so funny, dude. It's so funny.
LeighErin, I usually appreciate your takes.
I hate it.
This
I
is
don't
a
like
bad
it.
take. It's a
Some-
bad
I
take.
have a worst take that I'm about to say, and then I have
Oh,
like a
no.
good take. The worst take is I watched his cameo happen and I went, am I a bad person that I don't miss Stanley cameos? Like, am I a bad
miss
person
Stanley
for that?
cameos.
Wow.
I miss
It's
Stanley
like-
cameos.
From a
Absolutely.
nostalgia point, I miss them. But like from a storytelling point, I don't, because it always felt like a weird out of place moment all of a sudden.
I
because
disagree.
we had
All of
This
them.
is
I love
another
all of
bad
them.
take. This is a
Definitely-
bad
I know
take.
it is. And I
There,
was
there were
thinking about it
definitely
in
a
the
few.
theater, and I
Go
was
hang
like,
out with
shoehorned
Josh.
in.
That shit sucks.
Yeah, there's
I will say
I don't
some that are
know.
more shoehorned in than others, but I appreciated all of them.
I just
Yeah,
recently
like-
watched Amazing
Tony
Spider-Man
Stank?
2, and so the bit where
He's like at the
Where-
graduation.
Mhm.
no, it was Amazing Spider-Man. So it's where
Oh, the
where
librarian.
Peter and Lizard are fighting, and he's got headphones
Yes.
on. He doesn't hear
That
it. I mean,
one-
it's so good.
That one I like because it's not like that's just any movie would do that establishing shot. It doesn't feel out of place, but there are ones that feel weirdly out of place that I was like,
See,
I
I
don't like it this
just to go on
way.
a slight tangent.
Love it.
I think the one in Spider-Man 3 is his best cameo because he talks to Peter while he's down and brings him back.
See, I was
Yeah,
going to say something similar, but in Spider-Man PS4, where Stanley like comments to Peter, he's like,
Yes.
you two were always my favorites, because he's on
See,
record for saying that Peter Parker is his favorite character.
That one
too.
fucked me
So, like,
because I didn't play that game till after he died.
yeah, same.
He had the line about like the costume might be a little small, but it will fit eventually. And I get the undertones of that, and I loved it so much.
Okay.
But then it also pans to there's like no
No
returns.
refunds.
So where he's also kind of like a sleazy like shopkeeper as well.
track.
I also have to say I fucking hate Greg Miller because when that first guy bumped up against Shang-Chi on the bus, all I could think of is him going, you know how sometimes you bump into a homeless person on the street and you go, oh no, is this homeless person going to fight me? I don't do that. I go, let's go. You've released the rage. And I'm crying, laughing to myself in this theater, not about what the fuck is happening on the screen, but just the idea of Greg Miller being on this San Francisco bus and being like, this is my time to release all of my pent-up rage.
You'd see his
And I
shoes
felt
come
this
off.
man-
Absolutely. The shirt
He takes
comes
off his
off
shoe,
like he's
rips off
ready
his
to go.
shirt,
Yeah.
And
I-
He's got the
weird
Mario
movie.
Kart cut
When
off underneath. Like,
Andy posted a picture of Nick before the movie next to a wall, and I was like, if he off this one too.
I know. Yeah, that was my first thought immediately. I saw your tweet on that too.
Yeah, no, this scene was amazing. Like
Yeah.
It's my favorite part of the whole movie.
He brought up the jacket scene. I think it was right before the jacket scene. It might have been right after, but he does like 8 punches in like a second. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that's just this type of movie, and I love it so much.
Straight out of like it was just Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat. Where
Yeah.
it's like, I also love this. I think it's like right after the jacket bit where he gets thrown around and he sits down like next to the chick and just like, hey, and then gets back up again. It's so great.
When he
I loved
goes,
it.
oh, you'll know when I give you the signal, and she goes, what signal? And then it just leads up to him. Stop request. I was like, this is cool. Also, the slow-mo was not egregious. In fact, I think that the slow-mo was almost necessary with the way that they shot it.
Perfect. I thought.
There are certain shots in this movie that legit, and I say this about a lot of comic book movies at points, but there are certain like just single shots where it looks like a panel out of a comic book.
Yeah.
It did jump out at me that the CG in the slow motion of Razor Fist was not great.
It wasn't great. No.
It was just like
Yeah.
it looked like it needed like one more once over or something. Like, it was
CG struggles in slow mo.
Yeah.
But
That's
I did think that the choreography of the bus scene though, and then just the whole sequence of it, like from when it's like getting cut in half to the brakes are going out. He's trying to get everybody across the thing and distract distract the people enough to where like they don't get hit. It's like leaning on the side and he's like hanging out and grabbing people and stuff. I thought all of it was perfect. And shout out to them showing like the Ghirardelli in the middle of the scene too. I love that. But I mean, it was so great. Like I think it's the strongest point of the movie for me personally, in a movie that is already like 95% like really, really strong points. Like,
Austin, you have something to say?
I was gonna say, while this scene as an entire package is probably my favorite thing, I honestly think that the scene when he's fighting his dad and the 5 rings go to him and they're doing this like duel with the rings, and I was like, this is the most anime shit in this movie, and they've had some really anime stuff so far, but okay, well, it's the second most anime thing because that punch that his father does over the water to him, and you see the water like
hot take.
That was great.
The 5 rings versus 5 rings. Best lightsaber fight we've gotten since the new trilogy.
It was so cool. It was really, really freaking cool.
Yeah, I did like all that, especially. I mean, you got to shout out at the end, like what I'm almost positive is a Kung Fu Hustle homage when the rings are inside the dragon or whatever, and he's doing the thing as he's like spinning and falling. I was like, it's perfect.
So last thing I want to touch on, because we should be wrapping up relatively soon. What did everyone think about the final fight with the dragon? Because I'm hearing some mixed opinions about it.
Can I say this before I forget? There were, if you know anything about Lovecraft stuff, there was mad Cthulhu vibes with this creature and how it talks to things and kind of its appearance and the souls, and like it was weird, like really, really Cthulhu-like.
I also want to shout out the idea that it is a Western, like a Western dragon fighting like an Eastern dragon.
Yeah,
quote unquote as well. I think there were some interesting undertones there too that I really enjoyed. I honestly wish that the ending had just been Shang-Chi and Wenwu. I'd kind of wish that there wasn't like the big CG kaiju fight. But I didn't hate it either.
So I kind of got this thought today when I was talking to someone on Twitter about it, where part of me did feel like the villain suddenly going from his dad to this just very generic CG dragon maybe wasn't the best, but I feel like the only reason I have that opinion is that the final fight maybe could have been trimmed down a bit and I wouldn't have minded it as much.
Yeah.
But in a way, I think the dragon becoming the final villain in like the last half of the movie, not even half, but the last section of the movie, helps in a way where the dad is no longer evil for evil's sake. The dad did legitimately think that he was going to bring his wife back, realizes he got tricked, kind of admits it, and gives the rings to his son. And I'm not saying that the dad's a good person, but I feel like it adds a layer.
I did like that scene though too, where he sends the rings.
Yeah, I just feel like it added an extra layer where I still don't think the dad's a good person, but it's not like, oh, the dad was just an asshole, and like that's where it begins and ends.
When Jordan's talking and 3 people's hands go up.
Yeah.
All right. Bret hasn't talked much. I'm going to let Bret go first.
Okay. My only 2 issues with this final fight were, one, Katie hitting that Hawkeye shot after a day of training. Like, I'm glad she had an awesome moment, but it was like...
It did seem a bit forced, right?
It was like a crazy...
Yeah, like Aquafina is the one who saved the day.
Don't die.
It was a crazy shot. And then 2 was that Wenwu died. Like, he has the 10 rings, he's kicking ass, and then like he just gets wrapped up, and then he's like, "Here you go."
Yeah, but that's
like, no, keep fighting.
That's a big thing in martial arts movies where the father like sacrifices himself for his son and passes on. Like usually it's a sword, and there's a whole thing. So like, yeah, that might not have been the best choice, but I understand why they did it because it was very much an homage to what this movie was playing on.
I'm just bummed they killed another villain off like in one movie again, especially this incredible, compelling character.
His character.
He wasn't even bad the whole time. Like you said, Chris, he was trying to get his wife back. He thought so. It's not.
No, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
He broke good. He broke good when he fell in love.
Fuck that guy.
I was called on. I was called on. Okay, so I feel like the villain in this movie, for me personally, I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, but I feel like the villain in the movie personally kind of share the same fate. Where like tonally, it's at like 88% on like executing it well, because I feel like this movie has a lot going on in it, like a lot of homages that are from different spectrums, and I feel like it does a lot of it well, but tonally as a complete package, I feel like it's a little all over the place. And I feel the same way about the villain, and bear with me because there are times where you're supposed to believe he's like grief stricken, and there's times you're supposed to believe like he's a good father or he's trying to be a good father, and then there's times where he's just easily being tricked, and like I get it, but like that final scene where he doesn't say a word and like basically says I'm sorry and gives up the rings, in concept, one, I like that he didn't say anything. I think it could have been easily botched with a line. Two, I don't think the execution was well. I don't know why. I think the character that was played up until that moment, there's just something about it it didn't totally work for me. So that moment honestly fell flat for me. Like in concept, it works. Like I would have done the exact same thing. No line, give it up, blah blah blah. But I just the execution of that scene for me with the villain we got to that point didn't work for me. And I don't know if it's just a me thing, but I don't know. It didn't blow me away. That scene didn't.
Okay. I feel like where they struggled, and I think every movie or television show that has a creature that can take out people's souls struggles with this. They all try to do that weird floaty light thing that comes off very like ethereal. Like this one, it had that rainbow haze coming off of them, and it always feels very ethereal and very soft. And I feel like deaths that come about that way don't pack the gut punch that you necessarily want them to. Like he was dying for so long. I was like, I get what we're going here for. Just have a little one like rip the ball out of his chest. Like, go stop. The fight was too long. The ending fight was way too long. It needed to be shorter. They didn't need two almost burying it in the water. It should have just been the one. And then I don't even give a fuck that Katie shot him in the throat. I don't give a shit. Whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out in a few movies that Katie is not just like
maybe one of her ancestors from that village as well, or something similar.
In this fight as well, though, I think the scene where Morris came running up to Trevor and Trevor being like, I'm playing dead, was fucking hilarious and a great way to end that character speaking.
We didn't even talk about the Planet of the Apes scene. That's the funniest scene in the entire movie.
Oh, yes.
That was the funniest scene in the entire freaking movie, dude.
Well, it broke Chris. Chris, if you're not paying attention, if Planet of the Apes gets mentioned, shoots up.
Where he thinks
I felt like I've talked enough. Like,
like when he continues to buy into like thinking that the monkeys actually
monkeys, but the monkeys were actors.
Yeah. That was another moment where I felt like the chemistry on screen and how both the characters reacted to that moment felt really, really good. Like it felt like this was real life. Like I felt like I was in the back of the car looking at this man and being like, I'm not gonna break this to this man.
Him automatically teaching soccer to the little kids of the village was phenomenal. Like that was I'm not gonna lie, him holding his scarf to his face and saying, I'll be there soon, mom, fucked me up more than it should have. That upset me a lot, where I was like, you are just, I'm a sucker for people who are like, I'm ready to die, except for his father. Fuck his father. But
there was a moment where like he was kind of on the battlefield. Like I know he dies and plays dead, but I was like, why are you even there? Like, what are you gonna add to this fight? Like, go away.
They needed all the help they could get in the moment.
Like Trevor, like I would have been like, why don't you go? We're gonna take all our animals and move them over here, and you can go stay with.
Or like you guard the kids, I guess.
Yeah,
I would 110% give my life to Morris. Like I would protect.
Oh my god, absolutely.
I would side with Morris over Ben Kingsley's character.
But I think it would have been honestly a good moment if you had cut to that they put the kids like somewhere safe and it just cut to Trevor giving them a performance to like keep them distracted from what's happening outside. Would have been a great moment. But I think I'm just acting, it's not real, play along, and like going back down and Morris flopping on his back was a really good moment to send off that character. Because I'm assuming we're not going to see him again. I think it was too long. I was surprised the aunt and the old man, whose name I don't remember.
Ong Yo or something was old.
Yeah.
He died.
I knew one of them was going to die, the aunt or him, because the two main characters were attached to them. But I got lulled into this false sense of security of like, oh no, they're both gonna live.
I will say props to the movie for not only showing that some people on their side died, but then addressing it. Because like in Endgame, we get a funeral for Tony and only Tony. But you can't tell me that of all the Ravengers, of all the Wakandan army, of all the sorcerers, and everyone else that came out of those portals, that Thanos' army didn't kill a few of them. Like you know what I mean? So I was kind of happy that they did acknowledge like we lost people, but we won.
Yeah.
What's the guy's name? Razor Fist.
Razor Fist, yeah.
Kind of like you're giving props to that. Like props to the Razor Fist and the Ten Ring Army. Like realizing what was happening with the Soul Suckers and being like, all right, we're not fighting the villagers. We're gonna fight the Soul Suckers.
I agree in concept, but that scene was again terrible. Like it didn't work.
The thing is, it came off so funny. Idea. It came off in a way almost way too funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt so ham-fisted to where it almost
and not in a good way.
Like it reminds me of a scene from Family Guy where Peter Griffin's trying to like write a quote unquote like sequel to Jaws called Bigger Jaws, and so like they're fighting Jaws, and then Bigger Jaws shows up, and they're like, oh no, we have a common enemy, now we got to work together. Like that's what that scene felt like.
But that's realistic though. Like if I'm a 10 ring soldier and I see Soul Suckers flying at me, I'm not attacking Guangyo. I'm attacking the Soul Suckers.
You're right. There should have been a moment where they did all go, we do need to work together, because the fact is they did. I wish the way they had shown kind of the change of opinion of the Ten Ring Army was way less comedic. If that makes sense.
It was like it's like Razor Fist was like, oh no, there's more bad guy, now we have to work together. I was like, you could
it was just
the delivery of it was so bad.
That's what I'm getting at. As an actor, I'm sorry to this man. I think he was casted on looks alone because he looks exactly like the character. If you've seen a picture of the character, he looks exactly like the character. I don't think that he can deliver lines at all. I don't think he should have lines. I think you should have seen him just kind of like look up, look back, look up, and just be like, okay, we're fighting these things now. Okay, let's go.
Oh yeah, he does look like Razor Fist.
His car was stupid. Who the fuck works for covert ops like the Ten Rings and has a fucking car like that?
I don't think.
I get that you wanted to make it clear.
I think it's a weekend car.
We're still talking about the same character. So this is the only on-character thing about that character is that he has a stupid-ass car. Nailed it.
And it's just like, it's dumb. Like, Razor Fist is such a poorly written character.
That's another
the only
thing.
one that I'm like, come on.
Part of me didn't like that for the first half, maybe a little longer of the movie, Awkwafina's character was kind of just Twitch from Holes, where like she sees a nice car and is like, I gotta get behind that wheel. Like, they did it a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a great fucking movie.
Yeah, no.
Get weird, Marvel. Get fucking
the
weird.
movie.
Overall, yes. I just think for me, I feel like I'm lower on it than most people. I just think it never managed to successfully give me a balanced tone of what was happening in this movie because it does a lot of stuff. I just don't think they balanced it perfectly. I think they did well. Just as an overall feeling after leaving the theater, I did feel a bit jumbled with what I just watched.
Yeah. Two things for me was one, usually I have to wear like a Marvel shirt or start with whatever I see one of those movies, and I wore a Liverpool shirt, not knowing that he was in the movie, and I was like, oh yeah, let's go, dude. And then two, this movie did something that I love is when, like at the beginning, when we was using the rings to kind of dominate, like, you know, ancient China and all that. Like, I love like ancient battles with some advanced like weaponry or tech.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
How do you feel about Cowboys versus Aliens?
I haven't seen it.
It's a terrible movie. Do not watch it.
I liked it.
I just need 1 minute.
We're about to wrap up.
It's so bad.
It's
so bad.
I know, it's really bad. I loved it.
What would you guys rank this out of 10 rings? How many rings would you give this movie?
I give it all 10 rings, baby.
I would say
10 out of 10.
There were little things I didn't like, but it's a great movie. I'm like Alec. It's I ranked it 8 out of 10 in my like top 10 Marvel.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I give it.
I don't remember what it knocked out, but
10 out of 10 rings.
It's like a 8.5 to 9 for me, especially as a standalone movie. It just is a fantastic movie, and as a Marvel movie, I like it even that much more.
Yeah, it's like it's Marvel takes on martial arts movies, and I love martial arts movies, and so that was just like a a formula that felt made for me. Like I'm so here for it. Yeah.
I agree with everything Chris just said. I just feel like that's why it should have worked better for me personally. Like I give it like a 7.75. And I was like, because going in, there's a bunch of anime ass elements. There's a bunch of martial arts in this. And again, I grew up loving Jackie Chan. I grew up being a fucking nerd and watching anime. Like this should have been a 9 movie for me. But there's something about it as an overall package. Like just to put it in perspective, I like Doctor Strange as an origin movie more. I think Doctor Strange is literally the best origin movie in the MCU. But
same.
So
but I
then
think
I have a harsh comparison to this, what you're saying. I disagree
with that because Doctor Strange was Iron Man with a different coat of paint.
I also am way lower in Iron Man. I don't like any of the Iron Mans that much.
I'll say I love the Iron Man movies.
But Justin Hammer.
Iron Man should have carried so far because of Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
Alec, how many rings would you give this movie?
Me?
I'd say
Alec.
9.
Oh.
9. Austin, what about you? How many rings?
I would say 7.5 if I had to push, just because of the things that did work, like the anime elements I really liked, hence the Dragon Ball here. They meant the Kamehameha thing, and I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, this movie proves that we should be able to do live action Avatar and Dragon Ball Z and not make M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender or Dragon Ball Evolution. Like, it's possible. They proved it here.
It can be done.
Yeah. I think I'd give it an 8.5. All I know is Simu needs to be in way more movies.
Everything. Yes. All of it.
Like, and he's on the soundtrack too. He's featured on one of the songs in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
He can sing.
That's cool.
It's called like Bad Soup or Bean Soup.
Hot Soup.
It's something
Hot
soup.
Soup.
Hot
So
Soup.
the next one needs to be a musical then.
It's called Good Soup.
Okay, so
Bad Soup.
do we think he's gonna be in Shang Chi 2 or the next Avengers movie first? Do you think we're getting a sequel?
I don't think we're getting an Avengers movie for a while.
Yeah,
It'll be a minute until we get an Avengers movie. I bet you we'll see him pop up somewhere else, like maybe in Doctor Strange.
I was gonna say I think they're both wrong. I think both options won't happen. I think he'll just pop in somewhere, maybe a Doctor Strange thing, since they had inclination that Wong was involved in this movie a lot more than I had any inclination before.
Yeah.
So
you know,
I also do like
every Marvel movie has gotten a sequel. Like I
think it will eventually. I just don't think we're gonna see Shang-Chi 2 anytime soon. I think the next time we see him, he'll be in somebody else's movie.
Yeah, I think he'll pop up in someone else's movie before his own. I also do
count Hulk. Did Hulk get a sequel?
No.
That's different though.
I know that's why I asked. Do you count Hulk?
I also did like Bruce telling him, "Welcome to the circus," as if they know, like, listen, if you show up with these powers one day, you're just kind of part of the group. You're part of this world. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
I do like that we're sort of getting Doctor Strange as like the new like central point of all of these characters. Like it's really interesting. I mean, he's the new Iron Man, but I mean it makes sense because that's also kind of how Strange is in the comics as well, to where I mean he was always kind of like a step above the Avengers, but the Avengers kind of aren't really a thing anymore, and so it's
and we're getting into this really weird mystical level of stuff happening that he has to be the center of it.
Exactly.
In my opinion, I think Benedict Cumberbatch is the next like best casting available. Like we had Tony as we had RDJ as Iron Man and Chris Evans as Cap and all that. Like those are great castings. But I feel like if we were comparing just casting perfection, like Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is like pretty damn close to those two.
LeighErin?
I also think a lot of this is going to get answered on November 13th when we're getting more Marvel projects.
Ooh.
Because that's Disney Plus Day.
You mean
so that's
for,
Disney
for a second, I thought you were referencing
Eternals,
but yeah.
No, and they're announcing new Marvel and new Star Wars titles. So I think that's they're also announcing Pixar and all that other stuff. But those are
when's that Star Wars? That Star Wars anime. When is that?
Vision.
September 22nd.
I'm watching that shit. I am all in for that shit.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, but I think where Shang-Chi is gonna pop up, we'll probably know in like November.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you guys want to,
I would be shocked if he's in the Eternals post-credit scene.
True. But if you guys, you still want to say, Alex?
Yes. The 2 end credit scenes were just amazing.
Wong singing Hotel California, 10 out of
10. So, but I'm like, because most of the time when you get a good mid-credit scene like that, the last one's usually like a joke one. It's like, I can't remember the last time we had 2 post-credit scenes that further the plot of the MCU.
Yeah, they kind of snuck the joke into the end of the mid-credit scene, and then both are very important to the overarching Marvel universe and how he's going to now be linked into that because of Wong, and now Wong bringing the attention of the rings to Bruce and Carol.
Yeah,
and we also know that the 10 rings are not, as an organization, the terrorist group, they're not actually gone, and they could come back in any form or anywhere.
I also like how that post credit did kind of give him welcome to the club kind of a thing. Like you're just here now.
He's kind of an Avenger now, right?
Yeah, and then did we even talk about the joke of the hotel song? Like how that's his character just does that when he's threatened.
Art of Confusion, yeah.
But then
that final. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when Chris and I were texting each other or between each other, it's like, is there ever a shot when you're pulling out from a throne that is not cool?
Always cool.
Yeah,
it's always cool. We got it with Boba Fett at the end of Mandalorian. We get it again with Xialing. Like fuck yeah, dude! It just
Killmonger.
Killmonger.
And then we see the layer she has. Where she has her 2 bodyguards. She has the kind of business, I guess, front of it happening, and then she has the people training, and then the guys training behind them.
And then all the fucking graffiti.
I was about to say, shout out to the fact that they tagged the whole place, man. That shit was awesome.
That shit was fire.
And I also really liked that the final title card
and the new 10 rings
Shang Chi will return. Is that
the 10 rings will return?
Yeah, I don't know what that means really, because
the new bright and vibrant logo.
That's what we're saying. She took over the terrorist organization. Maybe she'll be doing different things with it, but they're still there. Someone also pointed out that if he was born around 1996 and the mom died when he was around 7 or 8, that means that one of the first things that the dad did after returning to running the 10 Rings as a terrorist organization was kidnapping Tony Stark, because that would have happened in 2008.
This isn't deep at all, but I would like a scene with the sister Yelena, Kate Bishop, and I think that's it. I just want a scene of them together because I'm obsessed with all of them, and just
seeing all 3 of them on screen would be cool.
Absolutely, we've gone too long already, and I apologize. But the scene where I don't remember, the main villain, the dad, takes his son to that place for the blood debt thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't even talked about that. I didn't like that scene. I think it was a cool scene. Just I thought it was randomly placed in this freaking thing. I wanted so much more of that happening that it felt so weird to me.
I love the way it was shot, though. To where it starts at it on it, and then turns around, starts using the mirror so you can see the action, but also see like Sean watching it, and then the great point to where the dude flies into the mirror behind him. Incredible direction there.
The scene itself was incredible. It just felt randomly in this movie.
I like that he didn't kill any of the prostitutes. Just because I hate that when they walk in and villains are like, I'm just going to kill everyone in this room for fun. I like it when villains are more concise and only kill the people they're looking for. But also, all I could think of was, imagine being one of those prostitutes or the other card players and being like, this psychopath brought his child to murder someone, or whoever this little boy is. But
also, if I was that child, absolutely, I'd be like, yeah, I'll be an assassin for you. I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Whatever you want, I will do.
Yeah, no way.
We didn't talk about the mom dying either. How she literally killed all of them, and then
died in the process. Yeah. I liked how it started out with 5, and then 20 more people walked in.
Yeah.
Classic. I mean, it's classic.
Well, I mean, they're coming to one will, so.
Right. Any other final thoughts?
Really good. Liked it a lot.
I think though I think it's a really good movie. I just think for me personally, it didn't hit on the notes that maybe it's my expectations for the movie because of the source material, but I just think as a final product, it didn't hit on all cylinders for me.
Yeah, this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. Since they announced this one, I've been wanting to watch this because similar to I forget whether it was Jordan or Bret that touched on it. I don't really know much about Shang-Chi at all, and so I got to go in with absolutely no expectations, and I felt like I walked away really really satisfied and learning more. And so now I'm gonna go read some comics. I really want to know more about him.
I knew legitimately nothing about this character.
Yeah,
I knew more about the 10 Rings and his dad than I did. Well, is his dad The Mandarin? Because isn't the Mandarin the guy who has the rings in the comics?
I think his dad is a very loose interpretation of the Mandarin, because the reason why Iron Man 3 did the Mandarin thing the way they did is because the Mandarin is a compelling villain, but is drawn in a very, very, very racist stereotype of kind of like an Asian like martial arts master, round head, very long mustache, wears a
but
robe.
I think it's very important. I think it's very important to also be aware that Shang Chi, when it was originally published, was also incredibly racist.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It is a horrendous caricature of kung fu martial arts stories.
Yeah.
It's not just the Mandarin.
I'm glad it got better, but I know that the rings in the comics were nothing like they are now, and
they were magic rings. Like
I like the change.
It was like the Green Lantern, but
which Biggs Kingsley does. I mean, that's why a lot of people were so excited about the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, because the character has like the Mandarin that Trevor has the rings on. But yeah, the rings operate completely differently.
So his dad is kind of like what the Mandarin had done, but they are not going to refer to him as that or kind of dress him like that.
He never referred to him as that.
Did we talk about
that's why they switched it. Where he goes, they named it after this dish, and America got scared of a chicken dish.
I chuckled.
An orange.
I chuckled.
An orange, yeah.
Yeah, like the fact that, like, I mean, if we had any doubt, like the fact that this movie is a huge success. I mean, the box office numbers coming in already are like massively successful, not only for like pandemic times, but also for
Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend. Like Marvel just, they know what they're doing, like to a T.
Yeah.
So,
and we're not even through the weekend yet. We're recording this on a Saturday night.
I know. Incredible movie, Simu Liu, incredible. Like, yeah, loved it all.
Killed it.
All right. Well, on that note, because we've gone way too long, if anybody else wants to hear thoughts on all things Marvel, we will be back for Eternals and Spider-Man No Way Home. And every week we are doing discussions on the Marvel Disney Plus shows. Right now, we're currently in the middle of What If. So just subscribe. Everyone's socials will be in the description down below, and we'll see you next time. Bye.